2025 just wrapped up, and honestly, this year has kind of been insane for movies. I don't know if you're like me, but I'm already sitting here like, damn, I've already missed so many of these great movies. So many gems just slip through the cracks because cinema just tends to move faster than anyone could actually keep up with. So because of that unfortunate truth, I've decided to do my part and help inform y'all of some of the movies you might have missed. So yeah, I made a list, checked it twice, and basically I picked a movie from every year since the year 2000. Now these aren't really based off of any specific metrics or qualifications. These are just movies that have had a lasting impact on me personally and kind of have just shaped the way I digest films today. And let me tell you something, when your list contains both Lemonade Mouth and Whiplash back to back, you kind of learn a lot about yourself as a person. So without further ado, hi, hello, I'm not Jonathan, welcome back to the channel, and this is my list of the most impactful movie from every year of this century. A class of Japanese high schoolers get shipped off to an island for what they think is a field trip, only to find out that the government wants them to murder each other until there's only one survivor. It's kind of like Hunger Games before Hunger Games existed. These kids get weapons, explosive collars, and a time limit to start killing their classmates or die themselves. It's brutal, chaotic, and somehow has more to say about failed authority on youth than most of today's dramas. It's basically the movie that made death games popular, so a lot of your favorite death game stories / games owe this movie a thanks. I found this movie earlier this year because I went down like this death games rabbit hole, and when I watched it, everything just suddenly clicked. This movie kind of walked so every other movie could run. It wasn't the first last man standing movie, but it is what made that genre kind of mainstream. Unfortunately for me, however, I couldn't find the sub version, so I had to watch it in English dub, and that was kind of an experience.
Nakagawa, for getting me to come back to school. Thank you.
I'm glad too, Nobu.
Pictures ready!
I'm hardly in the shot!
Still a great movie regardless, and I think everybody should give it a shot. Chihiro's parents decide to take a shortcut, stumbling into this abandoned amusement park. For whatever reason, they immediately start eating random food like they've never heard of like consequences or anything like that. And bam, they turn into pigs. And now because of that, Chihiro has to work at a bathhouse for spirits and gods to save them. She meets a dragon boy, a witch with a giant baby, and just this mysterious kind of entity creature that just kind of vibes. He's kind of chill. He's just a cool guy. He's chilling. It's weird. It's beautiful. It's a great story, and it might even make you cry. Not me though. I didn't cry this one. It wasn't that bad for me. This is actually one of the first anime movies that I've watched that helped me realize that animation could be so amazing. If you just watch the movie and you look at the way everything looks, the colors, the art design, the sound design, you realize how beautifully everything meshes and that the story could really only be told in this form. It's one of those stories that make you comfortably uncomfortable for whatever reason, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. A guy wakes up from a coma in a London hospital and discovers the entire city is abandoned and filled with rage-infected zombies that can sprint, by the way. He teams up with other survivors and tries to find safety, but the real horror isn't really the zombies, even though they are kind of terrifying. It's more realizing how bad human beings could get when there isn't rules to hold them back. Its 3 acts have very completely different feels to them, but they wrap up together very nicely, allowing for what feels to be like a complete story. Let me tell you right now, I love zombies. My obsession with them started with The Walking Dead, developed with Train to Busan, and intensified with All of Us Are Dead. And if you know those last 2 movies, you know that they have fast moving zombies, which are literally my favorite, by the way, because they are terrifying and awesome at the exact same time. Apparently 28 Days Later was the reason that fast zombies were popularized and kind of brought into the mainstream. So I say thank you for that, 28 Days Later. You might not be my favorite, but you definitely created my favorite, so I appreciate you for that. I wonder how quickly I would die in a situation like that. Maybe like immediately, probably. I don't know. 3 homeless people, a trans woman, an alcoholic, and a runaway teenager find an abandoned baby in the trash on Christmas Eve. For whatever reason, they decide that it's their responsibility to find his parents because fuck the police, I guess. What follows is the most chaotic Christmas adventure through Tokyo you've ever seen, complete with yakuza, miraculous coincidences, Latino hitmen, and way too many emotions for a movie about finding a baby's parents. It ends up being a really nice, wholesome story that I feel like everybody should just watch at least once during Christmas time. And although this movie is an adventure movie, it's mainly about family, love, and the human spirit. I do intend to watch this back every year around Christmas time because it genuinely is just a feel-good movie. Also, if you do choose to watch it, please just ignore this scene. I know it looks crazy. I can't defend it. It's just an anime. Sean is a 29-year-old man whose life is going nowhere. His girlfriend just dumped him, and his best friend is an even bigger mess. Then the zombie apocalypse starts, and honestly, it takes him like half a day to even notice. He decides the best plan is to save his ex, his mom, and his idiot best friend by hiding out in this local pub until it all blows over. It's literally just a zombie movie where the jokes are just as important as the gore, and somehow it makes you care about these idiots surviving. And even though it might seem just like a comedy zombie movie, it also is a coming of age movie for this character Sean, because he really is just a man baby that needs to grow up. El Britain though. 4 kids get sent to the countryside to avoid the bombing during World War II, and the youngest one immediately finds a magical wardrobe that leads them to a frozen fantasy land. She tries to tell her siblings, they don't believe her. Eventually they all go through and find out that she was in fact telling the truth. And not only that, but there's an evil queen out to get them because they're a part of a prophecy that's supposed to bring her downfall. And there's also a talking lion who's just Jesus. Suddenly these kids find themselves caught up fulfilling this prophecy in a magical world alongside talking beavers and centaurs. This movie is low-key a fever dream for me. It's such an old movie that I remember watching at such a young age, around Christmas time as well. And if you grew up like me with no iPhone, iPad to entertain yourself, I imagine this is what your imaginary world would look like when you had to play with your friends and cousins and shit. It's honestly a great story that somehow includes killing people in a Disney movie, 2 wars, one of them being the Second World War, and Santa giving a little girl a shank.
Thank you, sir.
The one thing I will say about this movie is that it is kind of a little weird because children are just blindly trusting stranger adults like very frequently, and no one really mentions it as a bad thing, which it is if you didn't know that. So yeah, that's a little weird, but W Jesus though, that's my goat. 2006, The Departed. Billy Costigan goes undercover infiltrating an Irish mob while Colin Sullivan, who secretly works for said mob, joins the police force. So you got a cop pretending to be a criminal and a criminal pretending to be a cop. And both of them are very, very stressed. Everyone's paranoid, everyone's lying, and both sides are trying to figure out who's the rat before their cover gets blown. It's 2.5 hours full of a great storytelling and amazing acting and even better twists. It's one of my favorite movies, and honestly, I don't even want to say too much because I just want you to watch it in its entirety. In the late 60s and 70s, a serial killer starts sending cryptic letters and codes to a newspaper in San Francisco. A cartoonist, a journalist, and some detectives become completely obsessed with solving the case, even though it's clearly destroying their lives, relationships, and mental health. You're watching these people spiral for 3 hours, chasing answers that they're never gonna get. It's not about the killer. It's about what happens when you can't let something go. I, for one, am obsessed with obsession. It's honestly one of the most intriguing human emotions, in my opinion. The feeling of diving deep into something with every ounce of your energy just seems so admirable and not at the same time. I fully was invested with the story, even though I already knew how it was going to turn out. And if you don't know what it's based off of, it's obviously based off the Zodiac Killer. A goldfish named Ponyo escapes from her controlling wizard father, gets found by a 5-year-old boy, and decides she wants to be human because she loves him. Very cute, right? Except her transformation accidentally breaks the laws of nature and causes a little bit of an apocalypse. The ocean starts flooding everything, the moon gets too close to the earth, and reality just kind of starts falling apart. But it's fine because it's all drawn out beautifully, and the kids are just like, yeah, this is normal. We're in a Studio Ghibli movie. Chill. What a great movie, honestly. This is like one of my family's go-tos when it comes to animated movies. The childish whimsy of these characters are so amazing to watch. Great visuals as always with Studio Ghibli, paired with such a great story. Ponyo will always be goated to me, and that song is just amazing. An old man named Carl ties thousands of balloons to his house and flies to South America because his late wife always wanted to go and he made a promise. Very romantic, right? Except the overly enthusiastic kid / wilderness explorer gets stuck on the porch, so now Carl's stuck with his child he didn't even ask for. They crash land, meet a giant bird that's being hunted, a dog that can talk, and Carl's childhood hero who turns out to be the villain of the story. It's a movie about grief, letting go, and finding new purpose when you thought your story was over. Scott Pilgrim is a 22-year-old bassist in a garage band who falls for a girl with colored hair named Ramona Flowers. Sounds very simple, right? Well, no, because she has 7 evil exes and Scott has to defeat them all in a street fight style battle if he wants to even date her. The whole game operates on video game logic. People explain the coins when defeated, there's combo meters, and for me, the best part is that everyone just accepts it as normal. It's about growing up, being more responsible, less of a selfish idiot, and realizing that relationships take actual effort. The music also just goes very, very hard. I love Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. It's stacked with a cast of current A-list actors and actresses, has amazing SFX and VFX, and just an all-around inspiration for striving creators like myself. It does have some questionable elements, you know, like Scott dating a minor, but that's just a part of the story, so it's okay. Don't write it off yet. It's important. He's an asshole. It's important. He's an asshole. It's important. Please, just watch the movie. 5 random kids get stuck in detention, bond over their shared love to music, and end up forming a band called Lemonade Mouth. They start performing and accidentally become the voice of student rebellion against the school's oppressive administration and corporate sponsorships. Just typical shit, you know? Each member is dealing with their own personal struggles, identity, family issues, and confidence, and their band just kind of becomes this outlet for them to finally be heard. The music was fire, the storylines were actually kind of relatable, and the cast was just overall great. Although it definitely annoyed me at times because, you know, it's a Disney movie, it definitely shaped the person I am today, so W Disney for that. Charlie is a socially awkward freshman with a traumatic past who's just trying to survive high school. He gets taken under the wing of 2 seniors, Sam and Patrick, who introduce him to real friendship, first loves, and figuring out what he actually is. This movie follows him through freshman year as he experiences the highs and lows of adolescence while slowly unpacking his trauma. It's one of those rare coming-of-age stories that genuinely feel honest about how messy and confusing it is to be a teenager, while also not striving away from showing the struggles of mental health issues. I'm very aware that it's very corny. I'm very aware that there's some plot elements that kind of, you know, make you cringe a little bit, but that's intentional. Nick Carraway, played by Peter Parker, moves to New York in the 1920s and gets caught up in the world of his mysterious, wealthy neighbor Jay Gatsby. Gatsby throws these massive, extravagant parties, but it turns out he's doing all of it just to win back his lost love, Daisy, who just happens to be Nick's cousin, by the way. The whole movie is about obsession, the illusion of the American dream, and how wealth can't actually buy you happiness or love. Everything in this movie is just excessive and beautiful, and to me, a real fun depiction of what the Roaring 20s might have actually looked like. The reason I put this movie on this list isn't necessarily for the quality, it's more for its personal impact on me. Let me tell you, for whatever reason, I envied the love that Gatsby felt for Daisy. Unfortunately, it quite literally ruined my perspective of love, and it's still something I actively kind of have to work against. Andrew wants to be one of the greatest jazz drummers of all time, so he joins a prestigious music school. His instructor, Terrence Fletcher, is basically a psychological terrorist who screams, throws chairs, and will destroy your entire sense of self-worth if you play one note wrong. The whole movie is Andrew getting absolutely brutalized in the name of greatness while you sit there and wonder if this is inspirational or just abuse. It really is just an intense psychological battle between the two of them, and raises a really good question as to how far is too far when pursuing greatness. Once again, I have to inform you that this movie impacted me probably in a negative way. It's honestly terrifying to see what he's doing himself to achieve his goals, but I kind of love it. It's so intense and I want his level of passion. I'm very, very much aware that it's a horrible mindset, but for whatever reason, I still want it. Caleb, a young programmer, wins a contest to spend a week at his CEO's private estate in the mountains. When he gets there, he finds out the real reason he was invited: to test an advanced AI robot named Ava and determine if she has developed true consciousness. As time goes on, the line between what's real and what isn't starts to blur, and he begins to question who's actually being tested here. It's a slow burning psychological thriller about consciousness, control, and what happens when AI becomes more human than we're ready for. If you look at the level of AI now, this movie doesn't seem so unrealistic anymore. Other than that scary fact, the movie is just really good. It's very tense with great sound design, amazing atmosphere, and just a captivating storyline. I recommend watching this movie, especially nowadays, you know, since AI is actually getting to this level, so why not? You might as well. Shoyo was a bully in elementary school who relentlessly tormented a deaf girl named Shoku Nishimiya. It was so bad that it got to a point where she ended up having to transfer schools. Years later, he's consumed by guilt and tries to make amends by finding her and apologizing, but redemption isn't that simple. He has to confront what he did and deal with his self-torment while also trying to figure out whether or not he could actually change as a person. This movie explores guilt, disabilities, communication, and whether or not forgiveness is even possible after causing so much pain. It's actually really heavy, emotional, and doesn't offer any easy answers, and I love it for that reason. It's honestly just so great, and slight warning, it does have one of the most unnerving intro sequences I've ever seen in any animated movie, but to counter that, it also probably has the most emotionally satisfying ending sequences I've ever seen in a movie. It's honestly just a big W for animation overall in my opinion, and I love it for that reason. Kay is a replicant. that's just fancy words for artificial human, whose job is to hunt down old replicant models and retire them. Another fancy word for, just murdering them. He ends up stumbling upon information that could completely change the relationship between humans and replicants. So because of that, he's sent to investigate. His search leads him to start questioning his own memories, existence, and whether or not any of it matters if he's just programmed. It's slow, it's gorgeous, and it makes you feel existential dread in the very best way possible. Interlinked. This movie has my favorite aesthetic, which is cyberpunk, and does it very, very well. I want more movies like this, man. The cyberpunk genre is literally amazing in my opinion. This movie just also developed mine and probably like every other guy's first crush on Anna de Armas. Because I mean, like, come on, how could it not?
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Nick is a smart, talented kid who starts experimenting with drugs and quickly spirals into a full-blown meth addiction. His dad, David, tries everything: rehab, therapy, tough love, unconditional support, but nothing sticks because addiction doesn't care about good intentions. This movie shows the cycle of hope, relapse, and devastation from both perspectives, and it's absolutely brutal to watch. There's no easy answer or Hollywood happy ending. It's just raw, painful, and honest about how addiction destroys everything and everyone involved. It's honestly such a sad story, and Timothée Chalamet really conveys that boy very, very well. Danny is dealing with a devastating family tragedy, and her emotionally distant boyfriend, Christian, isn't helping at all. She decides to tag along with him and his friends to Midsummer Festival in rural Sweden. But the festival slowly reveals itself to be a disturbing cult ritual that happens in broad daylight, surrounded by flowers and very cheerful people. The whole movie becomes this surreal nightmare where Danny has to process her grief while everything around her descends into violence and absolute madness. This is honestly probably one of my top 3 horror movies for multiple reasons. There are some jump scares here or there, but what I like more in a horror movie is a psychological horror. Cults have always been terrifying to me, so seeing this kind of just like cherry on top of the pie, bro. Like genuinely, like, what the fuck? Bill Gardner is a middle school band teacher who's been waiting his whole life for his big break as a jazz pianist, and he finally gets it. But right before his performance, he falls into a manhole and dies. Yeah, Disney movie, by the way. His soul ends up in the great beyond, where all souls develop their personality right before being born. He gets paired with this soul named 22 who actively doesn't want to be born. Through helping her, Joe starts to realize something about the way he was living life. An arrogant man who's so obsessed with his passion that he transcends death. As you can tell, it's along the lines of those previous Obsession movies, so that's why I like it. Paul Atreides is the son of a noble family that gets sent to oversee the desert planet Arrakis. But his family gets betrayed, and Paul and his mother have to flee into the desert. The native freemen take them in, and Paul starts having visions that he might become a messiah figure who leads a holy war across the universe. It's very, very sci-fi. Just take me for a little bit. It's about colonialism, religion, and giant worms. I can confidently say that Timothée Chalamet is becoming one of my favorite actors. He does an amazing job in both of these movies and plays such a conflicted character so well. The story is very captivating, and although it's very intimidating at first, it hooked me immediately. So if that's your concern, don't worry about it. You're gonna get into it very, very quickly. Evelyn is a stressed out laundromat owner dealing with a tax audit, her disappointing father, and her daughter who she just doesn't understand. And suddenly she gets pulled into this multiverse and finds out that there's an evil version of her daughter who is trying to destroy everything. Evelyn has to jump between universes and access the skills of her alternate selves, which includes several goofy ass universes, bro. There's one with hot dogs for fingers, one where she's a kung fu master, and one where she's a rock with googly eyes. Throughout all this chaos, it's really just a movie about a mother trying to understand her daughter. If you look at the budget of this movie, you realize that it's actually insane what they were able to do with such a small budget. Most movies nowadays have so much more and do so much less with it. It's honestly just a great reminder as to what it takes to actually make a great movie. A rugby team's plane crashes in the Andes Mountains in 1972, and the survivors are stuck in freezing temperatures with almost no food and supplies. They wait for rescue, but nobody comes. Eventually, they're forced to make the impossible decision to eat the bodies of their dead teammates just to survive. It's not sensational or even explorative. The movie treats the real people involved with respect and shows how they held on to their humanity while doing unthinkable things. It's intense, heartbreaking, one of the most gut-wrenching survival stories ever told. This is one of those movies that I just didn't know anything about and clicked on Netflix thinking it was going to be a fun adventure movie, and boy was I fucking wrong. I don't regret watching it, but I was not ready for it when I did. Roz is a robot who washed up on a remote island inhabited only by wild animals. She doesn't understand their language or behavior at first, but after accidentally killing a goose and orphaning its baby, she decides to raise the gooseling herself, and she quickly adapts to the wilderness and becomes a part of its ecosystem. It's a story about parenthood, survival, and what it means to find your place in a world where you don't fit in anywhere. I watched this movie in theaters and I'm so happy that I did because everything about it just made me so happy. The animation looks beautiful. It looks like a straight painting just come to life. The voice acting was great. I loved all of the characters, and there's just beautiful world building all around. Twin brothers played by both Michael B. Jordan and Michael B. Jordan are back in town and are starting a juke joint with their baby cousin as the main attraction. Things start off very, very well until they receive some unexpected visitors who have come for the music. These visitors, well, they're vampires, and as you could probably guess, things quickly turn upside down as the main characters fight for their survival. This movie is so much more than just a vampire movie. All the acting was amazing in this movie, especially by Michael B. Jordan, bro. Playing two completely different characters that after a short time you don't even notice are both him. Also, the music was awesome. Like literally, there were so many scenes where the music would just kind of like send chills down your spine. I just love the movie so much. So yeah, that was all the movies I decided to put on this list for this year. I plan on trying to do this once a year. I actually had a really good time making this list. I have to watch a lot more movies. So if you have any recommendations for any movies that you think I might have missed, please comment them down below because I probably just haven't seen them yet. And if you guys agreed, disagreed, or just want to tell me something else in the comments, you can do that as well. If you enjoyed this video, please like and consider subscribing so you can watch any future videos that I might release. I'm locked in now, so I'm planning on dropping a lot more in the coming future, at least once a week. Other than that, y'all, I'm not Jonathan. Thank you guys for watching. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Adios.